What is up, Straight Fire fam? It's me, Jason McIntyre, Straight Fire. For Tuesday, May the 20th, we have a special, fun podcast for you today. Rob G and I. Rob G now fully back in the swing. Last week, he was kind of dipping a toe back in the water, coming off paternity leave. We are going to break down and predict both conference finals. It's an interesting quartet we have here. One of them last won a title in 1973. That's the Knicks. The other three combined have never won a title. So we will see new ground. We are also trying to extend a streak. The last 6 years, we've had 6 different champs. Obviously, that will extend to 7 because none of these 4 have won a title last year or in recent memory, in fact. So I don't know. Before we get to that, Rob, I want to, I talked about it a little yesterday. Rob over the weekend was like, hey, man, I found our old podcast predictions on the NBA season. And Rob had Knicks Thunder, and I had Knicks Wolves. So obviously we need to start out patting ourselves on the back. Now, I do this I don't have, Rob. Was the Mikal Bridges deal right before the season, or was it in the summer? Because I'm trying to think, did us both picking the Knicks, was that influenced by the Bridges deal? Do you remember when the Bridges deal went down?
I actually went back and listened to the whole podcast. We did it right 1 week before the season. So yes, we had that. Bridges was already on there. You even mentioned in your analysis that in the hypothetical finals, where it's Anthony Edwards versus the Knicks, it's like, well, I don't know who they're going to have guard him. Maybe it's just a Josh Hart, Bridges, and Anunoby all get turns at him because there's really no singular matchup for him. So yeah, we've had all of this locked and loaded for, what is this now, 7-8 months? I mean, feel pretty good about it. Not bad.
Now, listen, obviously weird stuff happens. Luka traded midseason. If you asked me 2 months ago for my prediction, it would not have been Knicks and it would not have been Wolves, because 2 months ago, Wolves did not look like a championship team. I did not know Julius Randle was going to turn into Karl Malone. Okay, I did not have that on my bingo card. I did not see the Celtics losing Tatum and falling apart. I didn't see the Cavs. Oh my gosh, what the hell happened to the Cavs? The postmortem. I know we're not going to do Cavs today, but my goodness, the Cleveland fans are irate because the Cavs want to basically run it back. Everybody thought that the Cavs would do pretty good. So anyways, the Cavs are an unmitigated disaster heading into the offseason, and the Knicks look like they could be set up for a big run here over the next couple of years with the Celtics down, but the Pacers as well are looking sharp. So Rob, let me go back. Are you surprised this is the matchup? I mean, again, the Cavs won 64 games, I think, and the Celtics, everybody had going to the finals.
Oh, you'd have to be surprised. And again, this is coming full disclosure. You and I both picked the Knicks before the season. But if I recall, before the last series, I think we both had Boston. I remember saying after game 3, when Boston came in and instead of went down 3-0, they blew the doors off them again. I was like, yeah, I don't see a realistic scenario where New York comes back and wins the series, even though they're up 2-1, because it looked like Boston had finally found their mojo. They were getting open shots all series. They just weren't making them. And credit to New York, they withstood the Jason Tatum barrage in game 4 to go up 3-1. And they took advantage of an injured team. No Jason Tatum. Porzingis is dealing with something. It was a Sam Hauser. I know that he's not a household name, but he's important to what they do specifically. Yeah. So, of course, I was surprised. I mean, the New York Knicks, for all of their talent, I like their starting 5. I think that it fits very well together. They did not look like a championship team all season.
Yeah.
At all. And it wasn't until game 4, because even the first 2 games, again, it was more about Boston blowing games 1 and 2 than it was about New York. It wasn't until game 4 that people started to really like, oh, maybe this Knicks team is legit. Maybe they can make a run. And then lo and behold, here we are, Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I would say the Knicks are the biggest surprise here. I mean, again, the Wolves are here. Steph Curry got hurt. If Curry's healthy, that's a series, obviously. I think everybody expected OKC to be here, but they were pushed harder than anyone in the last round. So we have a good quartet. I think everybody would agree the NBA would love it if we got a Knicks versus Anthony Edwards final. Okay, you get MSG rocking New York City, big media market. Knicks haven't been in the finals since, basically the Ice Age. And you get Anthony Edwards, the big young brash star who talks a lot of trash. all about the IG honeys, although it hasn't been his downfall yet. But listen, Anthony Edwards is just catching bodies on the court and off the court. I'm sorry, OKC fans. I know you're like, well, wait, what about OKC? We're great. Sure. All right. Wonderful. I mean, I don't know that they have the identity that Ant does. And obviously the Knicks have the lore. But you would agree Knicks Wolves would be the best matchup for the finals?
In terms of on-court matchup, absolutely. And that's even factoring in, I think we all agree at some point this week, SGA is going to be named MVP. So in a theoretical world, you say, hey, let me get New York, the last remaining big market, versus the reigning MVP or the current MVP. But as it relates to like the media side of it and what casual fans want to see and what the media partners would like, I think it's hands down Anthony Edwards. Like if you had a choice between Anthony Edwards and SGA, I think 9 out of 10 times you're picking Ant-Man for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's go OKC. Let's do OKC first. OKC, Minnesota. I'll get to my pick shortly. Obviously it's contrasting styles, right? OKC wants to push. They are guard and wing reliant, although they can play two bigs. But they're quick to get the hook on Hartenstein and go with Caruso or Cason Wallace, who look pretty damn good at times against Denver. Meanwhile, Minnesota's the opposite. They're just huge brutes. I mean, Randle's a force. Naz Reid off the bench. Rudy Gobert, obviously, the Stifle Tower, one of the great nicknames. Jaden McDaniels is super long. They're just big and long, and they just swarm you in the half court. And I know we don't put a lot of stock in the regular season. I think Rob alluded to it. The Knicks were 0-4 against the Celtics, and I think 0-10 against like some of the best teams in the league. Didn't matter. Knicks are in the conference finals. So I don't put a ton of stock, but I will say this. Denver's zone defense, Rob, which they didn't play a lot of in the regular season, gave OKC fits. I wonder, Minnesota threw zone at OKC during the season and they struggled. And I mean, you could look at it two ways. Hey, OKC got a lot of looks against the zone against Denver. They're prepped and ready for action. Okay, sure. The Denver zone was just like cobbled together by the interim coach. They didn't do a lot of zone in the season. Minnesota has played a ton of zone. I know people love Dagnall, the coach of OKC. That's great. Chris Finch is a better coach. I'm sorry. Who do I think is a bigger star or better star? SGA can win the MVP. That's fine. I think Anthony Edwards is a better player, better three-point shooter. I think he's a better finisher. All SGA has him is in the mid-range. And I like the McDaniels can, I mean, they have like 3 or 4 guys they can throw at SGA. Denver had like nobody. I mean, Christian Brown, Russell Westbrook. Really? You look at McDaniels, Ant Edwards, Alexander Walker is pretty long and can do some things. I kind of sort of like Minnesota in this matchup, Rob. I'm looking for edges for OKC. I think Jalen Williams, who had a brutal series against Denver, and I don't want to hear about his 8 layups and dunks in Game 7 and him waking up. Is he that good of a player? I don't know. You can put McDaniels on him and he ain't going to do jack squat. I mean, we've seen McDaniels slow Luka. We've seen Ant-Man slow Austin Reeves. I think Minnesota is the team to watch here. I am curious. Minnesota, when they go Naz Reid, become really, really amazing. You're talking 5 out. Julius Randle unlocked as a playmaker. He had a triple-double in one game last series. Like when you pull Gobert off the floor, it's not like it's a loss because you still have rim protectors in Naz Reid, and McDaniels is a great shot blocker. I mean, they are just so flexible. I'm going to go Minnesota in 6.
I don't hate that pick, mostly because I knew you were going to go Minnesota. Your preseason pick was Minnesota, so you'd be crazy not to go with Minnesota. Whoever ends up, I'll give my pick in a minute, but whoever wins this series, I believe it's going to be a long series. This is not going to be one of those ones, #Lakers in 5. Like, that's not going to happen in this series. These two teams are, I'm not going to call them mirror images of each other, but they're, looking in a pond reflections of each other because both teams can get really streaky from behind the arc. We saw that in last series with Golden State. Minnesota, game to game, almost quarter to quarter, would go ice cold or scorching hot, and there was no in between. We saw that with Denver and OKC. OKC in the last, in what was it, Game 7, they couldn't shoot at all in the first half, and they still ran it up on them because their defense was so tenacious. They're getting out in transition. Ultimately, though, what I think it's going to come down to is you have right now the 2 best teams in the paint between OKC and Minnesota. OKC plus 8.5 points per game. Minnesota right behind them, number 2 at plus 7.5 points per game. So both teams do a good job at scoring in the restricted area and denying the restricted area. If either team can't settle into some kind of rhythm outside, you're in for a dogfight. This is going to be a sluggish, grinded out type series. And the reason why I'm going to pick OKC, even though I think these teams are very close, is you saw last series against Denver. They have 3, 4, 5 guys they can use to pressure your ball handler coming up the court. So that instead of getting into your offense at like the 16, 17, 18 second mark of the shot clock, you're getting into it at like 12, 13, 14. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really speeds you up. It doesn't allow you to get into more than 1 or 2 actions in a half court set. I don't believe Mike Conley is going to be able to be very useful in this series. If you make Anthony Edwards your primary ball handler all game, how much energy does he then have on the other end to defend SGA, to defend J-Dub? So you're ultimately relying on, similar to what Denver did, Jokic was your point guard, basically bringing the ball up the court majority of the time. Julius Randle is going to have to bring the ball up majority of the time to get him in their offense early if that's what they want to do. If Julius Randle can bully Chet Holmgren the same way he did to my Lakers, same way he did to Golden State, then Minnesota's going to win the series. I just don't think he's going to be able to do that. I think Chet Holmgren and Hardenstein combined will do enough to slow down Julius Randle to not where he's getting triple doubles as you mentioned. Maybe he's like 18 and 9, which is great, but that's not going to be enough to beat OKC. I like Oklahoma City to win this game in an extended series. Give me the Thunder in 7.
Interesting. So I'm going to ask, like, and this is a tough one because in the last series, OKC struggled against Denver to close out games, right? They had 2 big blowout wins, but they also lost 3 close games to Denver. And you could attribute that to experience. Minnesota was in the conference finals last year. Does that matter at all? It's not like, Anthony Edwards has been to an NBA finals or Rudy Gobert, but like they were here last year. And I wonder if that's any edge at all, because one of these first 2 games, they obviously have to steal. And we did see OKC blow game 1. I saw some ridiculous take, Rob. I don't know if you saw this social media where you see all nonsense. But somebody sent me a tweet that somebody wrote that people don't realize this, but OKC was 2 Aaron Gordon 3-pointers away from sweeping the Nuggets. And I'm like, is that really? That's how you saw that series? Aaron Gordon hitting a couple prayer threes? Like, what? People are kind of sort of delusional about that series. Rob, do we forget that in game 5 in Oklahoma City, tied at 2, Denver was up 9 in the fourth quarter? Like, if they win that, they're winning the series. And just, Denver kind of sort of crumbled. Minnesota has a deeper bench. Like, the biggest edge OKC had was their bench. That's not an edge here. I mean, Alexander Walker is good, a rotational guy. Naz Reid, you could make a case he's the 6th man of the year. Did he win the award? I don't even know.
He won it a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So like they've got a bench. I mean, I don't know how much of a factor Conley is, but there's even this guy, Jalen Clark, who is a seldom used guy. He's barely played in the playoffs, but I saw a stat in the regular season. This kid who's a rookie, he guarded SGA a ton and like had some success against him. And I'm like, is that guy going to play? I don't know. I like me some Rob Dillingham. I don't think he's going to play that much, if at all. But like Minnesota's got a hell of a roster. I think the reason people slept on him, Rob, was because of the trade, right? Cat for Randall, and you lose DiVincenzo. You were kind of sort of building back the continuity and the chemistry, and that took 40, 50, 60 games. Same with the Knicks. They struggled for large portions of the season. And guess what? Now they're playing their best ball in the playoffs when they've had over 80 games together. Minnesota, I think we said, was 32-29 after 62 games. That ain't the look of a conference finalist, but they finally figured it out. Chris Finch has unlocked playmaking Randall, and this team's dangerous. My only concern for Minnesota is, like you said, if Randall turns into a pumpkin and he's giving you 14 on 16 shots and the assists are down to like 4 assists, who's the second scorer? And I don't know who that guy is, Rob.
Yeah, it's a legitimate question for them because Julius Randle, up until this season, had been one of the worst playoff performers relative to skill in the NBA. I'm not going to call him James Harden, but he was trending towards James Harden territory. He was something in the 30% shooting, high 20s from 3. And then suddenly in this postseason, he's taken it up to a level that I didn't see coming, and he's just been phenomenal. This series, like you said, these teams are not much better than the other one. Right. It ultimately comes down to matchups. And to your point, Home court, I don't think really matters that much. Just like I don't know if experience at this point matters so much because both of these teams, I know Minnesota not this year, but they know what it's like to play deep into a series. They've gone against star-laden teams before, both this year and last year. So I don't think either team's going to be really flinching in that regard. Up until this past weekend when the Knicks won and then Denver and OKC took care of business at home, the last 3 games, home teams are only 26 and 24 in the playoffs. So to your point, I fully expect Minnesota is going to take one of these first 2 games. Point blank, period. I also think that by the time we come back to OKC, it's going to be 2-2.
X factor in the series, one guy. Like who there's so many options on OKC, but first of all, let's get this out of the way. The way Caruso defended Jokic, and I talked about it yesterday, Rob, you didn't get to chime in, but I don't think they're going to allow that crap in this next one. They're not going to let him molest Anthony Edwards the way he was all over Jokic. That's just not going to fly. And we've seen Finch during the season made comments about how OKC gets away with murder and you can't breathe on SGA. I'm sure that clip will be making the rounds ahead of the game. But yeah, I can't find an X factor. Is it J-Dub? Who I think is the most overrated player in the league. At this point,
he has to be an X factor.
Is he not the most overrated player in the league?
He's up there.
He's like an all-star, but come on.
He might be all-NBA this year. He might get third-team all-NBA. But to your point, he's been so inconsistent. You can't look at him as like, hey, I'm going to count on J-Dub to be my second guy. He's a Lamar Odom right now. At this point for OKC.
Oh my God. Third-team all-NBA? I need to see. I need to open investigation.
I'm telling you.
That's a joke. All right, let's go Pacers-Knicks. We both like the Knicks, but obviously the Indiana Pacers are a bad group of dudes. I mean, I think this is the deepest team in the league. And obviously Haliburton is the man. Did you see the video, Rob? There was a Pacers fan who, for some dumb reason, Game 6 of the Knicks, wears a Haliburton jersey to the Garden. And he's like by himself, which is insane. And then he's in the street afterward and Knicks fans identify him. I mean, and they start throwing literal trash bags at the guy. And then, of course, Haliburton saw the video, and Tyrese Haliburton has now invited that gentleman to go to Game 1 at the Garden. Haliburton is just scoring all the points, Rob. You know I like this guy. The Cavs had nobody to guard him. Garland don't play defense. Mitchell's not a defender. Their wing defenders are mediocre at best. The Knicks will throw Bridges, Hart, and maybe even some OG Anunoby at him. We saw the kid McBride. Is it McBride? Is that his name? I'm sorry.
Yep, Deuce McBride. Yep,
Deuce McBride. Yeah. He had an incredible chase down block in the Celtics Game 6. Like, he's a good defender. I just think the Knicks have they've got like kind of the perfect roster, Rob. Like, where are they deficient other than a rim protector? But do you really need that against the Pacers who love to shoot the three?
That's the question right there. Because as we alluded to, New York during the regular season and coming into these playoffs did not look like that great of a team. And somehow they rounded into form the second half of the series. In this series, I think it's going to come down to 2 guys. OG Anunoby, who you mentioned. In games where he scores 20 points, the Knicks win at a 74% clip. So in this series, he's most likely going to drop the Pascal Siakam matchup. In an ideal world, what happens is Jalen Brunson goes off enough in game 1 or puts on enough of a heater at some point in game 1 where they say, you know what, we can't have Nembhard on him. You know, Matherin's not going to work. Haliburton has never been that great. We got to put Siakam on Brunson to slow him down. If OJ Anunoby can take advantage of those matchups he's going to get when he gets the second defender or the third defender on that team, then New York should roll relatively easily. The problem is he's kind of inconsistent, as you mentioned, same thing with Julius Randle. And the other thing is Karl-Anthony Towns in the last series. People don't talk about this. Towns is arguably the greatest shooting big man in NBA history. Wow. He's regular season wise, look at the numbers. He's right up there.
Right.
He's right up there. Even in the playoffs coming into, this year, he's right up there. He shot 15% from 3 against Boston. If he cannot pull Miles Turner away from the basket, whether by making the threes ideally, or even just attempting them. He wasn't even shooting them against Boston. Take Turner out of the paint. Let Brunson go to work. I think the Knicks have advantages all over the floor in this case. I like the Knicks in 6.
You mentioned Brunson, so I had to look this up. I'm going to tell you what Brunson did last year in that Pacers series, okay? When the Knicks lost 4-3. Game 1, he had 43 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Knicks win. Game 2, 29-5, Knicks win. Game 3, this was the one that hurt. I had to go look at the play-by-play. So the Knicks led by 9 in the fourth quarter on the road up 2-0. They win this game, they're going to the conference finals. Pacers make a comeback. Jalen Brunson hits a 28-foot step back to tie the game with 42 seconds left. And then Andrew Nembhard hit the biggest shot of his career, a 31-foot bomb to give them the 3-point lead and win. Otherwise, Knicks go up 3-0 because, we know they lost game 4. That was Brunson's weakest game. Game 5, got to have it at the Garden. Brunson, 44-7 assists. Rob, that put him up. Then, of course, 31 in game 6, which they lose, and then he got hurt in game 7. I think he broke his wrist, but he averaged 29 a game, had a 43 and a 44 burger, 46% from the field. Like the Pacers, for as good as Nesmith and Nembhard are, they cannot guard him. I'm sorry, they can't. And the Knicks are better offensively now with Cat and OG splashing. So I'm with you. I like the Knicks in this. I do love this Pacers team. They're close. That Karl-Anthony Towns number you gave me is troubling. He was what, 3 for 15?
He shot 15% in the series against Boston. And in all fairness, he only attempted 19 threes.
Yeah,
because
what's
the game plan for Boston was we're going to defend him with smaller guys for the most part. Like they had Jaylen Brown on him. They had Tatum on him. And they would hide Horford and Porzingis, well, Porzingis was playing, on Josh Hart usually. And in this case, if Cat is able to pull Turner away from the basket, there is absolutely nothing to stop Jalen Brunson from averaging 33, 35 points a game in the series.
Yeah, I think he'll get that. And by the way, for all the Thibodeau's overplaying his guys, the Knicks won the series on Friday. Brunson only had to play 35. So they got off Saturday, they got off Sunday, they got off Monday, they'll get off Tuesday. That's a lot of rest. And you get to stay home, no travel for the Knicks for the first 2 games. They're home court advantage. So everything's coming up Knicks. Obviously, those first 2 games are going to be big. I think the Knicks, I'll go with Knicks in, you said 6?
Yep.
Fudge. Can I go? I would go 5, but if they blow one of the first 2,
yeah,
then it's a dumb prediction.
And that will be disrespectful to the Pacers.
Yeah, I'll go Knicks in 7. I think they, obviously
7.
Haliburton worries me. Haliburton is sneaky, one of my favorite players. So, and we'll have some off days. So Rob and I would like looking forward. The league is starting to change, Rob. Have you noticed? Just some of these guys are like the Kevin Durant stuff. People aren't as hot for Kevin Durant anymore. Right?
No.
He's getting old. LeBron obviously staying with the Lakers. Steph Curry getting old and injured. Are we doing that cycle where the young guys start to take over? I think that's going to be an interesting topic this offseason. But that's your preview for Knicks, Pacers, and Wolves, Thunder. Boy, if OKC makes the final, I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow. I bashed that team all year, Rob.
It can't be any worse than shaving a Seahawk on the side of your head.
No, I'm not doing any of that stuff.
Okay.
For sure. All right. Back tomorrow. Talk to you then.